We're back in KZN for midweek racing. We're back in Pietermaritzburg, the venue of Sunday's race meeting, and it is an 8-racer program that awaits us with an off time to 12:30. Of course, remember, show us some love. Get in touch on our X handle, formerly known as Twitter or WhatsApp, and it will certainly be most delighted to engage with you as we count down to another week of racing that continues on a Wednesday. Now, as far as the card is concerned, 12:30 is your off time for that first of 8. Please note a very important change in race 3, the first leg off of the pick 6. It is plus 5 minutes to the start of the third of 8, so it'll be off at 13:45. All right, let's get straight down to it. I'm sure lots to discuss after yesterday's carnage at the Val. Daryl, did you survive yesterday afternoon? We did predict that it was going to be a massacre, and it was more that and a lot more.
Nothing I haven't experienced in the past.
But it just felt like it was new territory, and that you say we expected it.
Yeah.
But let's hope today we get some sort of, not revenge as such, but some respite.
Yeah, the game's never that easy, so we try to bounce back as soon as we can, and let's hope we can do it today at Scottsville. I've played the first 2 races very cautiously. I'm just hoping I survive the opening leg of the Barpot and the PA. Number 3, Famous Warrior, there was support for him on debut. Never in contention. Maybe he can improve. Number 5, Care Forgot. Now, she stayed on nicely on debut over the 800. She's now stepping up to 1200, and it is a test in 1200 at that, so she can certainly improve. The first timers, number 7, actually related to Darren Burrows' Culp Forest. Watch out, follow the market with regards to his chances. And number 10, New Frontier. Now, he's related to a Lafferty juvenile who won on debut, so I suggest following the market. The obvious one is number 9, Soho Star. Very pleasing debut. Did, however, start at 66-1. So I'm playing cautiously.
Okay, so let's talk about the first race, Mr. Burrows, before we come back to round off with Daryl Marie's Bipod selections. Race number 1, first of all, a very warm welcome. It is good morning to you. We're talking Wednesday racing at Scottsville. Sunday was a tough one, and dividends paid well all around. Can we have the same on Wednesday this afternoon?
I highly doubt that, because I've actually tipped 2 pick 6s today, one with 4 bankers, the other one with 3 bankers. So I'm looking at a straightforward card, barring 3 or 2 races. Now, the weekend wasn't bad. I mean, Voldemort was one of the fancies from 20-1 into 7-1, and he dead heated. We both labeled Ready to Charge as the banker on the card in Turffontein, who arrived. So the main horses did win. This race, Soho Star, good debut, starts at a big price, but a lovely pedigree, speedy pedigree, and can only build on that effort. I thought the danger could be Cat's Pajamas, a Rafif out of Seacat. There has been market supports. Usually the Robinson runners improve from their first run to their second run. So I don't know if he's fully wound up, but he'll run well. And of the rest, maybe Mickey Blue Eyes with Tristan Godden, and maybe a horse for Quartet's Care Forget, who ran 13 lengths off Almond C on debut. Kamalo gets the ride, so a big price, just throw him in the back of Quartet's.
All right, so that is the juvenile plate, a maiden juvenile plate that opens the meeting. It is an 8-race program, 12:30 the off time, and there it is. We have now got a new expression on the show, and it is called the Marie method as far as negotiating the first leg of the Bipods, especially if it is juveniles involved. That is 12:30 the off time to that first of our 8 races, and of course 6 legs of the Bipod with bankers in legs 5 and 6. All right, so we move on to race number 2. And of course, don't forget that you can get hold of us on X. That's our Twitter handle. The number is also displayed, our WhatsApp number. Let's get to race number 2. And the specialist, 20-1 was the SP on that debut, a very good debut behind the China Berry. And of course, we would have known whether the China Berry form line is holding up with the first race done and dusted. The specialist has been shortened in from 23 to 10 to 2-1. That is MJ Ordendale and Richard Fourie Marie teaming up, of course. Richard refreshed after a couple of days of break. The second favorite is a 2 is Vavane, and that is at 3-1. It's 9-2, and better bar those. Mr. Marie, you're going to be giving us a PA, so let's leave the floor to you. Are you cautious once again in that first leg, or are you going to be bold, aggressive in leg one?
I'm extremely cautious. Cecil, I'll put up as many as 6 horses in the opening leg. You know, the obvious two are Isi Vavani and the Specialist.
Yes.
The Specialist recorded a lovely debut, staying on nicely. He's got plenty of scope for improvement. Let's see how the first race form line stands up with Soho Star, if he happens to have franked that form by now. So I can see him featuring. It is Soho Star. Then Isi Vavani, I just had a look at his breeding, Cecil. Mr. Soma trained the dam, Rodeo
Yes, I do
Sue.
remember.
Yeah,
and do you remember who was one of the owners?
Rodeo Sue.
Yeah.
I don't.
Are you sure?
Yes. Larry
Um,
Wednesday.
I think his brother-in-law, Clyde's brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
Gordon Sofianos. Yes.
Okay. Been by Erupt. If he doesn't find this on the sharp side, he could feature, but he's certainly bred to go 10 furlongs or 2,000 meters. Good Living is the horse I'm looking at major improvement from. I think he's going to love up to, the step up to 1,200. And then you've got the likes of Mr. Nibbles. He's got having had 2 runs, Acts of Genius, Gelded. Now the blinkers go on. And there has been some support for My Boy Lollipop. So if you are looking past the top 2, it can get very tricky.
All right, Mr. Burrows, just before we put up that PA from Mr. Marie, how do you see the second leg of the bipod and the first leg of the PA panning out?
Cecil, I thought the horse to beat Isi Vavani.
Yes.
Now, that was a fair debut behind a really smart youngster, Talk to the Master. He started a big price, but there were some really well-bred horses in that race. And to finish midfield, 6.95 lengths off the winner in Cape Town in the peak season, you got to say this is probably a drop in class. And he's had the run under the belt. So I think Isi Vavani is going to be one of the leading lights. You've got the Specialist that was beaten 2.85 lengths on debut. That wasn't a bad effort. We still have to see if that form line's going to stand up. I'm a little bit suspect about that. Mr. Nibbles should run well. And My Boy Lollipop, I thought a lovely pedigree by Socrates and cost a lot of money at the yearling sales.
Okay, so let's just confirm, Mr. Marie, he's gone as wide as 6 horses, and I've learned the lesson the hard way. You never, ever sniggle at that. It is certainly the way to go through. And as the card progresses, they've got those 2 bankers as we had in the bipod, leg 4, number 9, and leg 5, number 1. Off time to race 2 is 13:05. All right, so we stay with the juveniles as a maiden juvenile plate race number 3 over the 1,200 meters. Once again, as mentioned at the top of the show, there is a time change to race 3. The first leg of the pick 6 were now off plus 5 minutes at 1:45. Now, in the betting 4 race number 3, we had an evens favourite overnight, the 2, the Mikado. I think Frank Robinson will have a pretty decent afternoon if races are won on paper for the owner, Mr. Sid Moodley, who seems to have invested well. And as far as the rest of the 4, Dapper, Paul Lafferty is a charge of having a second outing with Muzi Yeni aboard this afternoon. That was a market rival at around 3-1. Mr. Burrows, the top 2, as mentioned, Mr. Moodley as an owner could have a wonderful afternoon. Frank Robinson certainly has been turning out the horses ready to perform well, especially his first-timers.
Definitely, he's got a lovely handful of runners at the moment in the yard, and some of them are quite decent. And this one, I saw him go to the start on debut, and I thought, he moved a bit green and leggy, and I thought, he's going to struggle to stay with them over 1,000 meters, which wasn't exactly the case. He actually showed a bit of speed. He absolutely took off late when he learned what it was all about. And I think this is ideal. The 1,200 meters will suit. As long as this run hasn't come a week too early, I think the Mikado is going to prove very hard to beat. His danger will be Dapper, that wasn't disgraced on debut and also has a lovely pedigree, probably looking for a lot further in time to come.
Right, Mr. Marie. It is race 3, another maiden juvenile plate, and this time we've got the Mikado. This is a 2-year-old son of Donan Platina, out of a smarter missile mare bred by the Vilkabos Drifter and Maurice Fontaine. Quite an expensive purchase, a decent debut, finishing just less than a half a length behind the Kalahari Roller. And this one was in single digits, but eased out as the race approached. I guess the support for Kalahari Roller has sorted that.
Very promising debut, Cecil. It was around the bend of 1,000 meters. He does try Scottsville for the first time, and it can catch some horses out, especially juveniles. So that's my only reservation. I do believe he brings the strongest form into the race because Kalahari Roller had the benefit of having had one run going into that race. So I do fancy his chances. Just Scottsville can be a tricky course to contend with. And his dangers have been there before, Havana Moon and Dapper. So I played very cautiously in the first 2 juvenile races. I'm doing the same over here. He is my number 1 pick, but I do have respect for others.
Okay, so that is the race number 3, the first leg of the Pick Six. So again, be reminded that the Pick Six will get underway at 13:45, and of course it is a very bullish afternoon for Mr. Burrows. That is the first one. That would be, I think, the Shrutis would call it the cover. That is got the 3 bankers, the legs 1, 3, and 5. And then let's have a look at the more aggressive one. This is an outlay of 648 to the first one, and as the outlay tells you, this is an aggressive one. 4 bankers. It is legs of 4 and 6, where Mr. Burrows finds that he needs to have a bit of cover there. That is virtually the fields in those of 4th and 6th legs. Off time to race number 3 is 13:45 once again. All right, so we get to that first jackpot. The time is that's carded 14:20. This is the In the Box Seater podcast maiden plate. So we've left the juveniles behind. They occupy the first 3. And of course, don't forget, if you have any queries, and in fact, you may just have tidbits about some of the pedigrees that will be debuting, we'll only be too happy to engage on our X handle or on our WhatsApp number. Now, let's have a look at the 4th race of the afternoon. The favoritism, that is with number 7, Star of the Future. And yes, you've guessed it, it is Frank Robinson. And Mr. Sid Moodley once again debuted, and again was in the betting. 11-2, eased down to 8-1. That was behind a B52 in finishing less than a half a length to a B52. Races 1 on paper, as I said, if it is that case, we'll be seeing a lot of those light blue silks with the white and black bands.
Cecil, I've got my reservations about this horse. On debut, it was a fair debut. Horse that finished just behind him, Splendid for Ella. He's very moderate. But the concern for me is, Cecil, in the front of the computer form, because he has been rested for 200 odd days, there's a comment by Mr. Frank Robinson, and he says should be in the money. So I don't know what to make of it, because he apparently jarred his knee on debut, and he was given time to recover. So I'm worried that he's been off for quite some time. That's my major concern. So I haven't included him in my bipot in my PA. I had a look at the replay of Richard Free's mount over here, which is number 3, Avro Prince. Now you can see on debut he was well beaten. In his second start, he did show good improvement. And on that occasion, he raced all alone up the inside, and he was very green. And once he came alongside other runners, when they drifted towards the inside, he rallied late. So if he has progressed further since then, I think he could be thereabouts. We know that he is fit and well because he has raced recently. And then Plettenberg. In my mind, his best run to date has been over the course in distance. A few winners from that debut form line. And then have a look at his second start and his third start. He just had all the excuses in the world. And Mr. Roberts has said he's fit and well returning after that layoff. He was actually meant to run a few weeks ago on the poly track, and he was taken out at the start. So I'm playing to beat this favorite. Would I be surprised to see him win? Absolutely not. But I think 3 and 6 should be thereabouts.
All right, so wouldn't be surprised to see the 7-star of the future come through and win. Wouldn't be surprised to see it lose by the sounds of it. But let's get to Mr. Burrows, and we saw an aggressive pick 6 from you. Same sort of aggressive approach to the jackpots, Mr. Burrows?
Yes, Cecil, you got an option here. You can either go field by 9, by field by 5, which will cost you around 72 Rand, or you can go banker 7 here, star of the future. Now, on pedigree, the 1200 is going to suit. He's rested a long time, but he could be a late maturing type that's had benefited from the time off. And he was absolutely taking off at the finish behind B52. So the fact that was a good run over 1,000 meters looking for further, if he's 75% fit, he could prove way too strong for this lot. There's not much form to write home about. That Gorgeous Guy form line with Teriyaki and Noble Warrior could be very suspect. You've got Avro Prince, that form line's also suspect. And Shiny Bob comes from the Gorgeous Guy form line too. So if Star of the Future's anywhere near ready, he should pulverize them.
Right, let's just confirm that jackpot. It is a 7 by 9, by field by 5, or there is that alternative suggestion from Darren. Field by bank of the 9, by field by bank of the 5. It's an off time to race number 4 of 1420. Well, we've had the scratching off on number 7, Levitator, in race number 5, and that leaves us a field of 8, was originally 9. For this maiden plate over the 1600 meters, and it's once again very short in the betting, and that is number 9, Tommy Riss. It is Mr. Jason Gates back aboard. I think the last time it ran, he was still recovering from that injury that he had incurred in Port Elizabeth, Quebec. So right now we're looking at Tommy Riss at 17 to 20. Market driver is a 4 Dynasties last. That is Louis Gerson and Richard Fourie at 7 to 2, 11 to 2, and bet about those. Mr. Burrows, starting off with you. I take it you're going to give Tommy Riss one more chance. Again, a draw on a wide. Okay, field of 8, but it's still a wide draw.
Yes, now this filly was very unlucky last time out. I thought she should have stuck to the outside running rail and waited for that gap to open, because she would have run on by. When she had to switch on the inside, it was taken off her stride a bit, and she was closing the gap, but just couldn't get up to beat Blue Horizon. So this time around, if all things equal, if she settles in running over the longer trip, she'll take a power of beating in this type of company. I've opted to bank her in all bets, and I'm sure she'll deliver for us.
Mr. Marie, your thoughts. Tommy Riss, this is the day at the fifth time of asking in those familiar Glistian silks, and it's, of course, Glistian-sponsored Mr. Gates back aboard.
Cecil, she just needs to settle and have luck in running this time around. She's been very unfortunate in her latest 2 starts. She holds her biggest danger in number 6, Gorgeous Girl, who does get fitted with cheek pieces this time around, Cecil. So possibly could narrow their deficits, but it's hard to see her reversing the form with Tommy Riss. So I'm going in this race extremely confident. I just hope she does settle, and I think she could progress and win a few races in time to come. So 9 from 6 for me.
All right, agreement between our 2 analysts here. That is Mr. Burrows and Mr. Marie. And this is confirmation. Darren has gone on a win bet on the 9 Tommy Riss. That is the 3-year-old son of Versen Getrix in race number 5. A reminder that 7, Levitator, is a scratching. Gallop TV YouTube channel, Phillips Mayers 93 is over the mile. And here, the favoritism. Let's have a look at what could be a very trappy 6th race on the afternoon. In a race number 6, well, we've got some value to be had, I'm sure, according to Mr. Marie. But a horse that did well on the Highveld, and now the stable has relocated to the KZN, is the Ivy League with Mr. Baron Porters and Smanger teaming up. Smanger knows the horse well. 7 rides, 4, 3 wins, and 2 fourth placings. That is at 28 to 10. Number 4, Grandio Ricci. That is a 3 to 1. The One Eye Sensation is into 92 from 6 to 1. There has certainly been an interest, and also shortening against the 3 Lucky Miss. Now, Mr. Burrows, as far as the money for Ice Sensation, does that catch your attention?
I think she's got a definite chance. You know, I think this is a hard race. I think she'll be in the places. Ivy League interests me a lot. I know she's rested, but she's got tons of ability. She's run off Mrs. Geriatrics, Egyptian Mao in a feature, and Give Me Another. So she's definitely got the ability to flash up late and get up to win. For Sure is interesting because she's got so much ability, but her last couple of starts have been very below par. She's moved up to them and then just found nothing. And I'm hoping that she can put the record straight and show what she's worth. I thought a tricky race. This is the race I put the field in, so I'm looking for a result.
Field for Mr. Burrows, Mr. Marie, and for your good self, what are we doing here, race number 6?
I'm actually very. I think the price on number 1, Ice Sensation, is extremely generous, Cecil. You know, she's ultra consistent. You can see she always puts in a bold showing, and she has come down slightly in the ratings from an 87 to an 85, and she has the benefit of Rachel taking off an additional 1.5 kilograms. She's got fitness on her side. She goes well at the track, so I think everything points to her possibly getting it right this time around. If she doesn't, she'll be right there at the finish. So I think she does represent each way value, as she should certainly be in the money and can win. 5 to 1, I'm certainly having a tickle. She should have the beating of who is it, Cecil? The two that Lady Heist.
Yes.
She should be able to reverse the form and confirm the form with Lucky Miss.
Okay.
So then you have to look what else is in the race, and Ivy League popped up. Now this filly, I know she's very talented, but she won 2 weak handicaps in the middle of winter, and she didn't disgrace herself in some of the features. She has been given time off. I don't think she's really going to be readied up to make a winning comeback after a few months off. So I think the fact that Mr. Boitsis is bringing her back in a mile suggests that she's fit enough to do herself justice, but I'm sure there is some meat on the bone left, and I think she does have bigger fish to fry. So our sensation, Rice, the right race for her to get it right.
Right, let's confirm it is the value, and as mentioned, there has been a shortened in from the initial 6 to 1 into 9 to 2 in a race number 6. That is Ice Sensation. Just talking about that Ivy League form line as we wrap up race 6. It has produced an Epintombi Grade 2 winner. It's produced a Guineas Grade 2 winner, and now a Classic Grade 1 winner. Good form line. All right, we drop down to a fillies and mares at 67 for our penultimate race on the afternoon at Hollywood Bets, Scottsville, Peter Marisburg, and of course the last chance to get involved in a double, and the chances to get involved and to interact with us never stops. It is that Twitter handle, formerly Twitter, now X, and the WhatsApp number. Now, as far as the betting for race number 7, it is pretty open, but there has been a run of finding support, and the one of the supported horses is the Apple of My Eye. That is Gareth Van Sale and Richard Fourie, now as short as 19 to 10. Also finding support is a 5 Pinstripes, whom I see our tipster in the computer form has made a bit of a value bet, is at 3 to 1. It's 5 to 1 and bet about those. Now let's start with you, Mr. Marie. We've lost a 10 drive-by, a field of 9.
I think you can really focus on the exacta here, Cecil, numbers 1 and 5. I'm not looking past the two of them. Now, considering the pace of the race last time out, the Apple of My Eye did extremely well to get as close as what she did, because the finish was dominated by horses up on the pace because they crawled, and she was caught too far back. Richard Fourie this time around from a 1 draw, be much closer to the pace. So she's an obvious selection of here. If you go back to her penultimate start, she ran behind Roy's Rocker, who was ahead of her. Pinstripe, who's better off at the weights with her. Pinstripe. So I'm not going to separate the two of them. I don't think there will be much difference at the line. So 1 and 5, take the exacta, and I think you can stand in the queue to collect. Yeah.
Exacta route for Mr. Marie, Mr. Burrows, and for yourself, Darren. What are we doing in race number 7?
We're going to have a strike on Pinstripe. I think she'll win. She's crying out for the 1950, which she goes today. And if you see the manner in which she stays on over shorter, she gets a little bit outpaced and she flies up late. Last time out, she was way out of her ground. She must have been 15 lengths off turning for home, and she got beat 6 lengths. I thought that was a competitive lineup. That day, I did say it was a 76 handicap, but you had horses like Celtic Beauty and Mascarena in the race who are going to end up much higher than that. So that wasn't a bad effort. On her penultimate start, she holds the apple of my eye, and she's better off at the weights. So I would go the exacta boxed 1 and 5, and I would have a strike on Pinstripe at around 4-1.
Concurrence between our two tips is there. It is the numbers 1 and 5 that will be integral to the finish to race number 7, but the latter is a confident selection. Have a bit of a strike. That is the recommendation of Darren Burrows in race number 7. So that is the story of our first leg of the last double, race number 7, due off at 4:05.